I put up another question here, or another little bit. If you wanted to ask someone how many children they had, it would be ¿Cuántos hijos tienes? Okay, so if you guys wanted to know how many kids I have, okay, I'm not going to ask you guys. I'm not going to like assume that some of you have kids, or maybe you do, maybe you don't. But not my. All right. So, señor Cientos, ¿cuántos hijos tienes? Tengo una hija y dos hijos. Okay. So, what are my offspring?
One daughter, two sons.
One daughter, two sons. Okay. And I put my daughter first because she is the oldest. All right. So, tengo una hija y dos hijos. Also, remember, both the word hijos and niños mean children or kids, but what is the difference? Who are hijos versus niños? Yes, hijos are either biologically or adopted or whatever mind, okay, whereas niños? Yeah, is it recess again today? Yes, it is. It's them over there, okay? Just children, kids, whatever, okay? They're not mine, whether by birth or adoption or whatever, okay? So, now, when it comes to possession in Espanol, and yes, I'm going to use you guys as examples today, okay? We do not express possession in Espanol as apostrophe S. Okay, never mind. All right, it's not going to balance. So I would never say something about Brady's libro, okay, the way we would in English. It's like, oh yeah, Brady's book is sitting right there, okay? And just as an FYI, in fact, in Spanish, we never use apostrophes for anything, okay? It's not a part of our writing system, all right? So no apostrophes at all in Espanol, okay? All right, so then how do you indicate possession, all right? It's actually pretty simple, but it is longer than in English, and there are two ways to do it, okay? First, you have the object, and we use the verb ser, okay? So that's why I put this back up here. That's why we learned it way back in the beginning. Soy, eres, es, somos, soy, son, okay? In this case, we would say es, okay? Always, 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 a billion times always, when you're doing possession. It's de, okay? And then you have whomever the owner is, okay? So in this case, and I'll use a different color, el libro es de Brady. Okay? Now, there is a shorter way of doing this without the verb ser, okay? Where we would just say el libro de Brady. Okay? So yeah, no apostrophes, no S's, none of that. Okay? The only time it would be slightly different is if it was plural. Okay? So let's say Brady has more than one book. Los libros son de Brady. Okay, those are Brady's books. Okay, but in the shorter form, it would still just be los libros de Brady. Okay. Bueno. All right. Now, obviously here I am using a proper name. Okay. If I just wanted to say that they belong, or that the book belongs to the student, okay, and in this case it's still Brady, so I have to use the masculine form of student, all right? So, el libro es please don't write this part down, because in Spanish, first off, let me tell you, there are only 2 contractions in the entire Spanish language. Okay? What's a contraction? Could not becomes couldn't. Should not becomes shouldn't. Cannot becomes can't. If you ever have a de and an L next to each other, it contracts to del. Okay? So, el libro es del estudiante. Okay? Because we do not use apostrophes for anything, not just possession, all right, it's D-E-L, all right? No D apostrophe E-L or some weird shit like that, okay? So, el libro es del estudiante. Next chapter, you'll learn the other contraction in Spanish, okay? Seriously, we only have dos. That's it, okay? So, no apostrophe S. The long form, which requires the verb ser, the short form, which does not, okay? And if you ever have de and L next to each other, it contracts, okay? So, like I said, salud. How would we say, because it's like right up on the desk, David, no offense, David's backpack. What is backpack? Ooh, la mochila. Let's go with the short form. La mochila. What do we need? De. And who's the owner? David. La mochila de David. Okay. Just for you, Jenna. Jenna's pen. What is the word for pen? El bolígrafo. What do we need? De, what's her name?
Jenna.
Muy bien, el bolígrafo de Jenna. Okay? If you want to say la pluma de Jenna, that's also okay. All right? Emma's phone. What is the word for phone in Espanol? El teléfono. What word do we need? De. And what's her name? Emma. Okay, el teléfono de Emma. Ooh. Instead of saying Senor Santos, though, the professor's desk. What is the word for desk? I am working at a table, so we'll go with a mesa, but it's escritorio. All right. So la mesa. What do we need? De. What's the professor? I'm a boy. But wait a minute. We have de and L next to each other, so what should that be? La mesa del profesor. Okay? We'll do a couple more of these next class, because if you look on page 58 at the very top, or the top part of the gray box, okay, the explanation is right there, okay? Another way that we indicate possession, and this is where we will do the bulk of our work today, okay, is with possessive adjectives, okay? We have these in English. Okay, words like my and your and our. Okay, so I don't always have to say Jenna's pen. I can just say her pen. I don't have to say David's backpack. I can say his. Okay, and of course, if you're talking about yourself, it's my table. Okay, and Emma would say my phone. Okay, and so on. All right, now. We do have to make it a little bit more difficult in Spanish, okay? Because, for example, the word for my, we actually have 2 in Espanol, and that's me and mis, okay? Both of those mean my. The one you use depends on the object that you possess. Okay? So, if Brady is talking about his book, he would say mi libro. But if Brady had 3 books, he would say mis libros. Okay? There's only one Brady, but Brady has 3 books. So he uses the plural. All right? Possessive adjectives, and this is the rule, are dependent on the object possessed, not the possessor. Okay? Because some people might say, wait, why is it me? So there's only one Brady. No, but Brady has 3 books. So we use the plural. Okay? The English equivalent would be my's books, which we don't say my's books in English. All right? Do without an accent means your in the tu form in the familiar. Okay, so because Brady is my student and he's younger than me, tu libro. Okay, if he had more than one book, tus libros. Okay, now I'm going to skip the bottom ones for now. When it comes to our, okay, now we also have to take into account gender, not just number. But once again, it is the gender of the object possessed, not the possessors, because now we're dealing with plurals. Okay, so Cheyenne and Julia back there, they decide to share a book, split the cost, because textbooks are expensive. And because they have the same Spanish class together, they even sit next to each other, it makes total sense that they go 50-50. And so eventually, they start talking about nuestro libro. Okay, nuestro libro. Okay, but Mr. Santos, they're both plurals. Why are we using the masculine? The book is masculine. Doesn't matter what Julia and Cheyenne are, the book is masculine. Mr. Santos, why are you using nuestro, the singular, though? There's 2 people. Only one book. All right, so, okay. We can do the opposite, too. Brady and Leo here, they sit at the same table. They've sat there for, weeks now, okay? So now they start referring to it as our table, okay? Anyone comes near it, they're going to get the dirty look, all right? I know you guys have given it to people when someone sits in your spot, all right? So they start calling it nuestra mesa. This is nuestra mesa, all right? So stay away, okay? But Mr. Santos, they're both boys. Why are you using the feminine form? Tables are feminine, so it's nuestra. Mr. Santos, once again, there's 2 of them. It's Brady and Leo. Why are you using the singular? One table, okay? Now, if they kicked poor Emma out, told her to move, then it could be nuestras mesas. It's our tables. It's both of these. It's this whole row is for us, okay? So, nuestras mesas, okay? So, object possessed, not the possessors. The vosotros form, obviously this is one that I would be using with y'all, okay? Same rule applies, okay? If I were to say, take vuestras sillas, silla is chair, and put them outside, I'm using the feminine form. Does that mean I only want the girls to take their chairs and put them outside? No. So why am I using the feminine form if I want everyone? And Mr. Santos, you already taught us that when it's a mixed group, the whole group, you have to use the masculine plural. Yes, the chairs are feminine. Sillas are feminine. Okay? So you go by the object, not by the possessors. All right? finally, and here's where it gets just a little confusing, so don't think about it in English for too long. Think of it in Spanish. Your, in the usted form, his, her, its, or your in the ustedes form, or their, T-H-E-I-R, are all the same, okay? It doesn't matter who is the owner, because once again, it goes by the object, okay? So I can talk about, for example, their books, sus libros, okay? But I can talk about Emma's book, su libro. I can talk about Cindy's book, su libro, okay? I can talk about all of y'all's books in the ustedes form, sus libros, okay? I can talk about her book, su libro, okay? So once again, because it doesn't matter who the owner is, all right, it depends on whether there's only one book or more than one book, okay? So it can be, now, but Mr. Santos, how do we know if you're saying his, her, its, theirs, all of that? Okay, well, obviously, if I say su libro, and I'm pointing at Emma, or indicating Emma, then it means her book. Okay, if I say, okay guys, chicos, abran sus libros, and I'm indicating Leo and Brady, then I'm saying, you guys, ustedes, okay? If I'm talking to my teacher friend here, Jenna, and I'm just like, oh gosh, no traen sus libros, they never bring their books, okay? Well, I'm not indicating anyone, but I'm saying, you know, just chatting here, and she knows I'm a teacher, she's a teacher, so she's like, well, she's obviously talking about them, so it's their, okay, and not like your or his, all right? So once again, the context, all right, determines the meaning. The only thing you have to worry about is whether there's one or two, or more than one, sorry, not two, okay? Any preguntas? We do not have time for the exercise that I wanted to do, but